Hello, everybody. One more time. Old Buck Dave here with episode 173 of Two Old Bucks. And with me is none other than, ladies first.
Buck. Well,
Oh.
Buckdale.
Tricked you there.
Vintage Vixen Judith.
We have Judith back. Yeah. And of course, none other than Mr. Dell.
Yeah, old Buckdale.
Old Buck Dell. Okay. So, Mr. Dell, what's going on with you?
So it is a lovely day in the neighborhood, and I have a true story to tell you. And this is a friend of mine, works in a bank, and and she knows a lot of people and is regular customers. You know how that goes. I know about you, but I like to walk in and have the banker recognize me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
It saves you from taking out ID or something. And a lot of times what you're doing is not that complicated. Maybe just something straightforward and get it over pretty quickly. So it's nice. But this lady knows a lot of people, and she's a very good friend of mine. And she's telling me a story that an elderly gentleman walked into the bank, and this happened very recently, and said, "Hey, I got to use my line of credit."
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting.
Wants to use the line of credit, or
Yeah, he's got to use his line of credit. The banker says, "Oh, that's kind of unusual for you to do that. Why do you need the money?" And that question must have caught him a little bit off guard, because he said, "I've ticked the box on the request from the county about not serving on jury duty." Said, "I'm over 70, and he said, I thought if I ticked that box, they would never call me."
Right.
So she says, "Well, what do you need?" He said, "The police called me and said they're going to arrest me if I don't send them, pay this fine." The way I understood this, he's standing in the bank and he's holding his phone near him.
With the police on the phone? The quote police?
With the scammer on the phone.
Scammer on the phone. Okay.
So the lady at the bank says, "Well, what do you got to do?" He says, "Well, I got to take $700 to a supermarket something and buy gift cards." And she said,
As
"Well,
that's a fine for not showing up for jury duty, right?
but the fact is, they believe that. They believed it, and the guy says
he believed it.
He believed it.
Yeah.
So then he takes his phone, and apparently the guy impersonating a policeman, who's very authoritarian sounding, is on the phone, because the bank lady says, "Let me talk to this guy." And so he said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Sheriff so-and-so," and gave him a number. And in the meantime, she's telling the elderly gentleman, she said, "This is a scam." And he's saying, "Don't hang up this phone." And he's holding the phone. She's telling him it's a scam. And she says, "Well, I don't think I'm going to give you, I don't think you should take this money." There's a twist to this. So the guy on the phone says, "Forget it. We're leaving this bank. We're going to another bank." And they walked out. And believe it or not, they went to another bank of the same name.
Wait a minute.
This time,
wait a minute. Who walked out? The guy. The guy.
the guy with the guy on
Because the other
phone
guy's
told
on the
old
scammer's
man.
on the phone, right?
Right,
Scammer's on the phone.
Right. The scammer on the phone tells the old man to leave the bank and go to another bank,
Okay.
because this teller was questioning, "Well, why don't you just go downtown and pay him where you always pay those kind of fines?"
Yeah.
And so the guy says, "Leave." The old man leaves the bank, and I said, "Well, were you able to prevent that from happening? She could maybe write a letter to the other bankers or something." She said, "I put a note in his file saying that there is a possibility this is a scam." The other banker gave him the money, and he was scammed. Now I said, "Is there any responsibility in that?" And this got me. She said, "No." And she said, "And I would have had to give him the money also. It's his money, and he demanded it." And I said, "There's no way to stop that." what really got me was this guy, someone on the phone. He's holding the phone, and they're controlling him to do
And
that.
he's intimidated by
He's
a voice on a
intimidated by
phone.
that.
Oh, that's sad.
I mean, I said to myself, geez, I don't think I'd ever fall for that. But I guess if you call 10 people, you have to get, 4 of them to buy into that and scare them or something. And next thing
You've
you know,
had a big day.
you had a
But you'd think
$2,000
he would
day.
have trusted somebody who knew him, who's standing there in front of him, a real human being. Why
Right.
didn't he trust her? That's so amazing that he could be taken in by that.
She said, he may come back and say, you were right. She said, but 1 out of 4 might come back and say, yeah, thank you for telling me that. You saved me some money. But most are too embarrassed.
Too ashamed. Yeah.
Too embarrassed to report it
Mm-hmm.
or come back and say, I'm sorry. And some, I think she said there's been occasions where they're so embarrassed that they just never come back to that bank.
Wow.
They go to the same, bank, but a different branch. So I thought that was unbelievable how easily that would, someone could get away from
Yeah.
that.
Sad.
So that's my
Okay.
story.
I guess that's your public service announcement. I appreciate
Well, be
that.
careful. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it won't happen to you or me.
Well, especially gift cards. That's the tip off.
Yeah.
That's what they always ask for when it's a scam.
Yeah.
You know?
Jeez. I think maybe the bankers should have a one page summary there and just hand it over to people when they come in wanting to buy $700 worth of gift cards for it to pay their fine.
They even she said some of the folks that come back and asked or told her that the people who said, why are you buying so many gift cards? You know what I mean? They're literally
Yeah.
at Walgreens or somebody is saying, why are you doing that? And they probably know too, but it's it really is interesting that I guess after a certain age you become very vulnerable for lots of reasons, but
Well, it's a good heads up to everybody then.
good heads up. And
Good
that's
heads up.
that's my story.
That's
So
your
what's up with
story.
you? What have you been up to?
Me? I went to a tattoo parlor the other day. They asked me if I had a hot water heater in my car. That's a joke. I'm making that up. But I didn't make the scrapyard story up.
That's a good joke. I like that. I went to that.
Hey, how about some letters from afar here?
Yeah.
This is clearly a Pittsburgher here. It says, really enjoyed it. I felt like I was right there with Yin's guys. However, I am stupider for not having heard this bullshit. I will never get back this lost 26 minutes of my life. Boy, ain't that the truth? How do they think we feel?
Yeah, this was an old ex-pirate or something, huh?
Yeah, I think it was. Yes,
It probably was. It sounds like a bunch of those guys. If they listened because of your friend, they might have just pranked you a little bit there.
And then here we got a little zinger on the scrapyard story. It says, just a quick word. The story about a scrapyard was hilarious, especially when it comes to the tattoo check. Yeah. Can't make it up.
Why does that not surprise me that maybe they would tie that together under that jurisdiction? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's I've been meaning to get down to City Hall there and find out what's that all about. I'll be reporting that as a story sometime down the road here. But hey, here's another one. It says, thanks for the entertainment. Please keep up as long as you can. We need you. So clearly they know we're old. Not sure why they need us, but we'll do what we can.
If someone turns into the two old bucks and we provide the least little bit of entertainment, relaxation, or
least is the amount we're providing, for sure.
Even if it's a little bit,
Even if it's a little bit,
I'm happy for it because some days can be rough on people. So.
Well, it's a break from some of the craziness of the world today.
That's true. That's true. We're a respite there from the insanity around us. Yeah. Now here's one more letter from afar. This has to do with your story of last week. It says, tell Dell that I put plastic gloves on the last time I used super glue and ended up super gluing the gloves to the thing I was gluing. I still have the glue on my countertop as a reminder of it, and it will outlive me.
when that super
There you
glue
go.
gets away from you, if
Hey,
that tube
yeah.
breaks and it goes out the other
Oh
end or something
man.
like that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I scraped two little gobs of that off of my countertop this morning. I had to kind of scrape it
See?
down with a razor
There
blade.
you
Yeah, it
go.
was all over the
Yeah.
place. So yeah, that's one of those things that happen when you least expect it too.
When you
So,
least expect it. Yeah. Who
so
wants to
what's
go?
Judith up to?
Well, I'm enjoying a beautiful day today. It's 60 degrees here in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
We're supposed to, they say our snow's coming in March this year. You know,
Boy,
we're having mild weather,
60
in
degrees in
February,
February,
and
early
then the
February.
snow will hit us in March.
Wow. Boy, that's
Yeah,
nice though. That's nice. Good for you.
it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think 60 degrees? I find that to be a bit cool. We only have it. What is the temperature today? About 65 or something, I think.
Let me
It's
see here.
comfortable.
It's good. I think we're going up to 75 today.
Yeah, it's pretty comfortable there. But you are going to get a lot of snow, I suspect, in, you say, March? You
They
think?
say it's going to be hitting March this year. Yeah, which is not unusual. I mean, we often have snow in March, but usually we have it December, January, February, and March. And this year it's like February is just so mild. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Crocuses are coming up, and little things are
Wow.
starting to bud, which is bad because then they'll get frozen out later. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take it.
All right. Yeah. Take it.
Hey, well, I got the two of you. Fortunate enough to be talking to you. Uh, you've both been to concerts, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what other events have you? I mean, you can think of all the events that you specifically went to. Maybe an opera, maybe a play,
Baseball games.
baseball game or
Does that
something like
count?
that.
That count? Yeah.
And yeah, you gear up for that. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
I've been
Yeah.
to a couple operas.
Okay, here's a question
What?
for you. Have either of the two of you ever been to a bodybuilding contest?
Can't say I have.
No.
And
No.
the silence was
Yeah.
palpable.
I,
Have you ever been to one, Dave?
oh no, no, no. How about you? Clearly you have been. Or
No, I have never.
you
I
just
have
want to
never.
be, you just want to do that, or you want to
No, no,
participate
no.
in it?
No, doing that. This is why I mentioned it to you, because I have a neighbor who is, I think, 70, and he is participating in a bodybuilding competition.
Oh, good for him.
Wow.
And that's kind of like what I said, but it is a lifestyle and a hobby that he has chosen that he has to meticulously prepare for, if you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean.
Yeah.
He works out literally twice a day. He is not overly muscular like some of the younger men that you see, but well, there's no fat on him. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, why are you working out so hard? He said, I'm going to be in a contest. And I said, huh. I said, don't you have to get a tan? He said, no. I said, no, they spray that stuff on.
Oh.
He says it's
Oh.
$180 and they just sort of give you all that color. And I said, gee whiz. But there's going to be one in March, and it's in Florida, which I rarely see that advertised. If you know what I mean, Dave.
It's a subculture, man. It's got to be.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have any real interest in going there and doing it. But since I've met him and watched him working at 70,
Yeah.
I said that would be
Well, maybe you
interesting.
should go and report back to us here.
I think
Well,
so.
I'm
Sounds like it.
planning on it. I'm gonna try to sneak down and do it. I think it's gonna be a Saturday, so I think I'm going to go down a little further south than where I live and see if I can, just to see what that entails.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I do admire him for staying fit, but I don't have that. I don't even think I have that kind of discipline. I mean, he's
No, you think we're wasting our time here doing a podcast? He's staring at himself in a mirror, getting all
yeah, not
oiled
an ounce
up.
of muscle involved in his podcast.
Come on.
It must
And-
take a lot more work at that age too, because don't we all just naturally lose muscle mass as we get older? I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, 2 times a day and very, very, very strict diet and regime of protein and vitamins. And I can't tell you, I mean, I've talked to him a couple of times, and uh, like I said, it's like a full-time hobby.
Mm-hmm.
But he is retired. He's a retired military helicopter pilot, and he enjoys doing it. He seems fit. He has fun at it. And there's a whole subculture that does that, and you
Yeah.
fit right in if you're going to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm teasing him a bit here, but not really, because hey, he's found something he enjoys.
That's right.
He's diligent at it. He's good at it, and makes him happy. So what's wrong with that?
Not a
Right?
thing. And
Not a
everybody
thing.
should be so lucky.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of muscle mass, I'd like to,
Good
I'd like,
segue.
yeah, this is just lucky here. I'd like to thank both of you for the movie recommendation, Boys in the Boat. Saw it,
Oh,
saw it, loved it. That was such a sweet movie. Ah, and it's true story too. It was great. It was
Did you feel
real.
yourself rowing along there?
Oh yes,
Were you
absolutely.
pulling? That's right.
I
You're
was
doing some
pumping.
exercise
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
I got my water rower going on there. I'm right there with them.
well, I'll be going to my first regatta sometime in the spring, so I'll report back when I go
Oh,
to
that'd be
that.
great.
Because
That'd be
the thing that
great.
got me to go to this is I have a grandson who's a rower.
Hmm.
Freshman in high school, never rowed before. Went out for the rowing team and is doing very well. And apparently there's a lot more of these teams around than you would imagine. There's
Right.
one regatta he went to last year. They had high school kids from all over the country. It was unbelievable. So I got to see him in a video, but I have never been there in person. So they're going to be rowing on the Schuylkill River in Philadelphia. So I'm going to
Oh, that's where I rode,
venture
the
over there.
Schuylkill. My one time
Yeah, I'm going to
rowing. Yeah.
venture over in the spring and actually see one in person. So,
Nice, nice. You
yeah.
have to report back on that too.
Yep.
All right, that's a deal. And speaking of movies, see, I'm just this is all coming naturally here. This is so nice. I've got a movie recommendation for the two of you and anybody else who's listening. It's called, and I saw this is on Netflix. It's called The Greatest Night in Pop. You remember that video, We Are the World? We are the world. We are the children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that was done in 1985. It was a video, USA for Africa, to raise money for the famine in Ethiopia, and it did raise $60 million. This movie is it's a documentary, obviously. It's about the making of the movie. So it's got all the clips and the backgrounds, and it was done on a very short notice. It was done on the night of the American Music Awards, after the American Music Awards in 1985. It was kind of footballed by Quincy Jones and Lionel Richie. So it was really fascinating to see the planning that went into all this. The herding of cats, as it were. All these artists. Like Quincy, he just does a spectacular job of running the show,
Hmm.
and you really get some appreciation for what it takes to get all these big egos together and get them to work together. And it's like, you get to sing a solo, but you don't. Well, that's the way it is. Okay. Uh,
Well,
and
and artists from different genres too. They were country and rock
yeah,
and
yeah,
pop and,
yeah.
just people who would never normally sing together.
Never
Just,
normally sing together. Huge names.
yeah.
The biggest names of the time were there, because I mean they took advantage of. They were, most of them were there for the American Music Awards. So they did it after the awards. They started like at 10 p.m. and finished about 7 a.m. So you could see the other thing is, wearing down as the night went on, and it was just really, really an interesting documentary.
I wonder who had the presence of mind to film them. Think about
They
to
did.
approach.
Well, I mean, these are all the clips. They filmed whatever it was. They filmed 8 hours to get a 3-minute video. So it was interesting to see that, doing the takes, and who was singing. Bob Dylan, who's doesn't have the world's greatest voice. He was clearly feeling intimidated in this crowd. You could just see it on his face. It's like, He's looking around. "Hey, these people really know how to sing. I know how to I know how to write great poetry, but and it was just really interesting, really fascinating. So highly recommended.
I
For the
think they
top,
made a difference.
they
I
made
don't
a
know that.
difference. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean these, we'll put a link to that. We'll put a link to the story, not to the obviously not to the actual video itself. You got to go on Netflix and watch the video, but it's free on Netflix, so it's all right. All right. Let me see how I can segue into the next
Have you thought about the moon
segment.
lately?
Have I thought about the moon lately? Yeah. Here's there's a moon out tonight. The moon is shrinking, believe it or not. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I
No,
did not.
you didn't know that.
And I'm trying to picture out how it could do that. But
Well, it turns out the moon has shrunk over 150 feet has lost 150 feet in diameter in the last couple 100 million years. It's not on a race or anything like
you
that.
mean like the dust is just blown away or
Well, what
something?
happened, the moon has a molten core, same as the Earth. And the moon's core is cooling, same as the Earth's. On the Earth, we've got all these tectonic plates that can, as the Earth shrinks, the plates can move and adjust and bump into each other. The moon only has one plate, one crust. As the center cools, everything shrinks. And obviously, well, not obviously, but it causes earthquakes as this shrinking takes place. And particularly, they're looking at landing on the South Pole in 2027. And there are some concerns now that the quakes that are occurring at the South Pole there will be a problem. But who knew the moon was shrinking? Another couple 100 million years, and it'll be another 150 feet smaller. It's enough to cause an earthquake. So,
does it have any effect, like I said, on the
oh,
but we probably won't have
has
any
no
effect on
no
the
effect
planet, on our
no
effects.
effect. No, the mass of the moon stays the same. Has no effect on the tides. Has no effect really on the.
Just gets tighter.
Just gets a little tighter.
Unless
Yeah.
you're an astronaut, you don't really have to worry about it, right?
There you go. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. That's right. Unless you're an astronaut.
We're trying to get up there again.
I don't think any of us is going up there soon.
Yeah, and they're trying to get back up there as it is, right? I mean, they're throwing everybody, all the countries of the planet have been throwing stuff up there to see if they can land on it and bounce around on it. I think pretty
the moon
much
is in. The moon is in, baby.
someone's going to put a flag on it, and then everybody else is going to have to pay to land.
Yeah.
You have to pay to park.
Pay to park.
So now I have this image of the moon as a giant prune or something.
The moon is a prune. That sounds like me.
Clearly scouring your scientific journals again, right? Is that what you were doing?
Well, that one actually came from the Washington Post, but it appeared in several places. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Hey, one more thing here before we go. Well, Dale, you know that I'm taking I'm in a short story discussion group where every week we talk about 2 short stories that somebody has chosen and distributed to the class the previous week.
You did tell me about that, and I know that this is a great interest to you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Because I like to write a little bit, and I read a lot. And
you read a lot of short stories too, don't you?
I read a lot of short stories. I just really love short stories.
Did you find a good one there?
I have a good one actually. I'm presenting next week, so this will be a good practice for me. One of the 2 stories that I'm presenting is called "Fjord of Killary" by Kevin Barry. And he's Irish. This takes place on the west coast of Ireland. I'll read about a couple minutes worth here. That's about all I'm going to read. I want to warn everybody. This is some coarse Irish language here. Okay, so it's not me saying this. This is what the words on the page are. So I'm going to encourage everybody to go look for this. We'll put a link in the show notes to it. So here we go. Fjord of Killary. So I bought an old hotel on the Fjord of Killary. It was set hard by the harbor wall, with Milray Mountain across the water and disgracefully gray skies above it. It rained 287 days a year, and the locals were given to magnificent mood swings. On the night in question, the rain was particularly violent. It came down like handfuls of nails flung hard and fast, by a seriously riled sky god. I was at this point 8 months in the place and about convinced that it would be the death of me. It's end of the fucking world stuff out there, I said. The chorus of locals in the hotel's lounge bar, as always, ignored me. I was the fretful blow-in, by their mark, and simply not cut out for tough, gnarly West of Ireland living. They were listening instead to John Murphy, our alcoholic funeral director. I'll bury anything that fucking moves, he said. Bastards, suicides, tinkers, he said. I couldn't give a fucking monkeys, he said. Milray is the most depressing mountain you've ever seen, by the way, and its gaunt, looming shape filled almost every view from the Water's Edge Hotel, lounge bar included. The locals drank mostly Bushmills whiskey and Guinness stout, and they drank them to great excess. I wiped their slops from the counter with a bar cloth I had come to hate with a passion verging on the insane. I said, but seriously, that's one motherfucker of a high tide, no? Barely the toss of a glance I received. The talk had shifted to roads, mileage, general directions. They made a geography of the country by naming the pubs. Do you know Madigan's in Maynooth? I do, of course. You'd take a left there. I have you now. The hotel had 23 bedrooms and listed westward. Set a can of peas on the floor in just about any bedroom, and it would roll slowly in the direction of the gibbering Atlantic. The estate agent had gussied up the history of the place in the brochure. A traditional coaching inn, original beams, visited by Thackeray, heritage bleeding out the wazoo, etc. I had leaped at it. I was the last of the hopeless romantics. The talk had moved on briefly from roads and directions. If he's still around when her bandages come off, Bill Knott, the surveyor, said, he's a braver man than me. Nice woman, John Murphy agreed, as long as you don't put your hand in the cage. Behind the bar, the Guinness tap, the Smithwick's tap, the larger taps and the line of optics were neatly stacked rows of glasses and a high stool that sat by the wee slit of a window that had a view across the water towards Milray. The iodine tang of kelp hung in the air as always, and put me in the mind of embalming fluid. Bill Knott looked vaguely from his Bushmills toward the water. Aye-ish, all right, he said. But now, what do we be talking about for Belmullet, would you say? Off a slow road? The primary interest of these people's lives, it often seemed, was how far one place was from another, and how long it might take to complete the journey given the state of roads. Bill had been in haulage as a young man, and he considered himself an expert. And I will stop there. So
That's interesting.
The protagonist here is a Irish poet who has kind of been had writer's block, and he hasn't written anything for 8 months, and maybe not published anything for 5 years, I think. So he decides he needs a change of pace. So he buys this inn out on the west of, and finds himself quite the outsider there. So
that's the way they talk, is it not? Is it?
Well, I wish I could have done a good, I didn't want to try to do an Irish accent because I'd mess it up. But yeah, that's the way they talk there.
That's the way they word things. Yeah. That's the way. Interesting. So there's obviously more to this story, and this is going to be the one that
there's more to the story. Yeah, but it's hilarious as the rain gets worse and the water starts rising, and you got all these characters. There are more.
Well, you've intrigued me now. I have to go read the rest of it.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the show notes. Yeah, it's a great short story, and I'm going to have fun talking about it next week.
Well, you find them, because you've read lots of short stories. In fact, you've given me books with just nothing but short stories in it.
That's correct. Yeah.
So, well, good luck with that one, Dave.
Thank you.
I'm sure your class will find it interesting.
I think it's interesting anyway. Yeah, I think they're going to enjoy it. It's a fun story. It's black humor. It's good.
Interesting story, and another episode, I think, of the Two Old Bucks is probably about ready to wrap it up. So I'm going to assume that that's it for today. And this is Old Buck Dale saying thanks for all the folks who listen. We'll talk to you next time, and
And thanks for having me again, guys. I always enjoy it. This is Vintage Vixen Judith saying goodbye.
It has been a treat as always. Thanks to both of you and everybody else out there. I hope you enjoyed it. This is your Buck Dave saying bye-bye.